On our fifth wedding anniversary, my husband smiled across the table and told me I looked beautiful. 10 minutes later, a terrified busboy pulled me into the rain and showed me a video of that same husband pouring white powder into my coffee. But the worst part was not the drug. The worst part was the text I found the next morning from my mother and brother. They were not worried about me. They were waiting for me to become weak enough to sign away my father's diner. My name is Nora Bennett, and for 37 years, I believed family meant showing up for giving quickly and carrying what everyone else dropped. By the time I learned the truth, I had been carrying my husband, my mother, my brother, and a whole family legacy on my back for so long that nobody even noticed I was bleeding. They just called me strong, and then they used that strength as an excuse to take everything from me. The diner was called Bennett's Blue Porch. It sat on the corner of Maple and 3rd in Willow Creek, Ohio, with blue wooden shutters, a squeaky screen door, and 12 red stools at the counter that had been repaired more times than they had been replaced. The porch really was blue. My father, Ray Bennett, painted it that color because my grandmother used to say blue kept sorrow from sitting too long at the door. People laughed when he said that. But after my father died, I understood. Some places hold sadness. Some places teach it to keep walking. Bennett's Blue Porch was not fancy. It was not a chain. It did not have marble counters, online branding, or a wall painted for Instagram photos. It had biscuit dough made before sunrise coffee that smelled like home, a pie case that fogged up every morning, and regulars who had been sitting in the same booth since before I was born. My dad opened it after coming home from the army. My mother, Linda, kept the books back when she still wanted to be part of it. My little brother Tyler grew up running between the tables, stealing bacon and telling customers, "One day this place is gonna be mine." Everybody laughed. I did too. Back then, I did not know how dangerous it is when a spoiled child grows up believing a joke is a promise. When Dad got sick, I was 26 and halfway through nursing school. I came home for what was supposed to be 3 weeks. 3 weeks became doctor appointments. Doctor appointments became chemo. Chemo became unpaid invoices, broken freezers, late payroll, and mornings when I opened the diner with 2 hours of sleep and cried in the walk-in cooler before the first customer came in. Tyler said he wanted to help, but somehow his help always came with conditions. He could run the register unless his friends were going out. He could pick up Mom's prescriptions unless his truck needed gas money. He could learn the business unless someone asked him to mop. So I learned it instead. I learned the supplier routes, the tax deadlines, the oven temperatures, the secret to my father's gravy, the rhythm of a breakfast rush, and the exact moment a customer needed kindness more than a refill. When Dad died, everyone at the funeral told Tyler, "Your father left you big shoes to fill." Nobody said that to me, even though I was the one already standing in them. My mother cried for a year. I do not judge her for that. Grief is heavy. But somewhere along the way, Mom discovered that if she cried, I would handle things. If Tyler failed, I would fix it. If bills came, I would pay them. If holidays were hard, I would host them. If the diner needed saving, I would save it. And the more I saved, the less anyone thanked me. They just expected me to keep doing it. My mother had a favorite sentence. "Nora, your brother has always struggled. You're stronger. That's why I expect more from you." For years, I thought that meant she respected me. Now I know it meant she had chosen Tyler and dressed it up as compassion. The first time Tyler stole from the register, Dad was still alive. It was only $80. Mom said, "He's embarrassed. Don't make this bigger than it is." The second time it was $200. Mom said, "He's just under pressure." After Dad died, Tyler borrowed $5,000 from me to get back on his feet. Then $8,000. Then 12. He never got back on his feet. He just got better at finding my wallet. Still, I forgave him. Because he was my brother. Because Mom asked me to. Because Dad had loved him. Because I believed family meant making room for people even when they kept taking up more space than they deserved. Then I met Evan Price. He came into the diner on a rainy Tuesday wearing a gray suit, shiny shoes, and the kind of smile that makes tired women feel briefly chosen. He ordered black coffee and honey butter pie. When I set the plate in front of him, he looked around the diner and said, "You run this whole place." Most days I said, "It runs me." He laughed like I had said something brilliant. For the first year, Evan made me feel seen. He showed up with tulips on Tuesdays because I once mentioned Tuesdays were the hardest day of the week. He rubbed my shoulders when I came home smelling like bacon grease and cinnamon. He told me I was the only person in my family who understood real responsibility. He said one day they'll realize you were the reason this place survived. I married him because I thought he saw my worth. I did not realize he was measuring it. Evan worked in mortgage lending in Dayton. He knew numbers, property values, bank language, and how to make himself sound calmer than the room. At first, he did not interfere with the diner. He only made suggestions. You should update the menu. You should stop giving free meals to people who can't pay. You should think bigger. Then the suggestions became corrections. You're too emotional about this place. You let employees get too comfortable. You can't run a business like a charity. Then came the jokes. If I forgot my keys, he said, there goes Nora's brain again. If I misplaced an invoice, he said, good thing you're pretty. If I came home exhausted, he said, maybe you need a man to step in before you drive that place into the ground. He always laughed after. And when a man laughs after cutting you, people expect you not to bleed. Around our 5th anniversary, my memory started slipping. Not all at once. That would have scared me. It came quietly. I missed a supplier meeting I had written on the calendar. I forgot to place the Friday egg order. I found a deposit bag in my purse and had no memory of putting it there. Once I woke up on this couch at midnight with a mug of tea on the coffee table, the television still on, and Evan's jacket over my shoulders. You fell asleep mid-sentence, he told me gently the next morning. You've been doing that a lot. I was embarrassed. He was patient, too patient. He started bringing me tea at night, chamomile with honey. Drink this, he would say. It'll help you calm down. Before stressful mornings, he made me coffee. Before meetings, he packed me soup. Before family dinners, he handed me a glass of wine and said, you look tense. And I drank because I trusted him. That is the part people do not understand until it happens to them. Betrayal does not always enter your life with a knife. Sometimes it enters with a warm mug and a kiss on the forehead. Tyler noticed my mistakes quickly. Of course he did. He had spent his life waiting for mine. One morning, while I was at the diner sorting receipts, he leaned against the counter and said, you know, maybe Evan should handle the business side for a while. I did not look up. Good morning to you too. I'm serious, Nora. That's new. His mouth tightened. You don't have to be nasty. You don't have to be useless. Becca, my assistant manager, snorted from the coffee station. Tyler glared at her. I'm family, Becca said, then act like it. I loved her for that. Becca had worked for us since she was 18. She was 24 now, quick, loyal, and sharper than any of us gave her credit for. My dad hired her when her mother was sick and she needed extra hours. To me, Becca was staff. To Dad, she had been one of ours. Tyler tapped the counter. One day this place will need real leadership. I looked at him. One day you should try working a full shift before making speeches about leadership. His face flushed. That afternoon, he posted a photo of the diner on Facebook. It was a picture of the blue porch, but he had angled it so the peeling paint showed. The caption said, big changes coming soon. Dad would be proud. Time to modernize the old place. My name was nowhere. I stared at that post until my hands went cold. Dad would not have been proud. Dad would have asked why the daughter who kept the lights on had been cropped out of the story. When I called Mom about it, she sighed. Nora, don't make everything a fight. He's talking like he owns the diner. He's excited. He doesn't work here. He's your brother. There it was again. The phrase that had excused everything from stolen money to broken promises. He's your brother. As if blood were a lifetime permission slip. 2 weeks later, Evan suggested an anniversary dinner. Miller's Grove was a cozy steakhouse 20 minutes outside Willow Creek. It had cloth napkins, low lights, and a hostess who called everyone sir and ma'am. Not rich people fancy, small town fancy. The kind of place people went for anniversaries, promotions, and apologies. Evan wore the navy blazer I had bought him for Christmas. I wore a green dress I had not worn since our honeymoon. For the first 20 minutes, I let myself believe maybe we were still okay. He held my hand across the table. He told me I looked beautiful. He said, 5 years, can you believe it? I smiled. I can feel it in my knees. He laughed. The server brought wine. Evan stopped her. Actually, coffee for her. She's been lightheaded lately. I looked at him. I can order for myself. His thumb brushed my hand. I know, sweetheart, I'm just taking care of you. That sentence used to make me feel loved. That night it made me feel owned. The coffee came in a white cup with a tiny silver spoon on the saucer. I took 2 sips. Within minutes, the room softened around the edges. The candlelight stretched. The voices blurred. My fingers felt heavy. Evan watched me carefully. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a cream-colored folder. I stared at it. "What is that?" "Nothing scary," he said quickly. "People always say that right before showing you something scary." He opened the folder and slid a paper toward me. "It's a temporary management authorization." "For what?" "The diner." I looked up. He smiled gently. "Just 6 months. It lets me help with payroll, bank deposits, supplier calls, maybe talk to interested investors if anything comes up." "Investors. Possibilities," he said, "not decisions." "My father's diner is not a possibility." His smile tightened. "Nora, this is exactly why we need to do this. You hear one word and spiral." "I'm not spiraling." "You are. And I say that with love." "With love." Another phrase people use when they want obedience but do not want to sound cruel. He lowered his voice. "Your mother is worried sick. Tyler is worried too." I almost laughed. "Tyler is worried about himself." "Nora." "Number." He went still. "No, I'm not signing anything tonight." His eyes hardened for half a second. Then the gentle husband returned. "Sweetheart, this is why I'm worried. You don't even realize when you're not making sense." That sentence pierced through the fog. Not because it was loud, because it was polished, practiced. I pushed the paper back. I said no. His jaw moved. He put the folder away. "Of course, tomorrow then." I said no. He smiled without warmth. "You said not tonight." Dinner ended in a blur. I barely tasted the food. Evan paid the check and kept one hand on my lower back as we walked out, steering me like I belonged to him. Rain fell in thin silver lines across the parking lot. "I'll pull the truck around," he said. "Wait here." He walked away. I reached into my purse for my phone. It was gone. I turned back towards the restaurant, dizzy and annoyed at myself. That was when the busboy stepped from under the awning. His name tag said Mateo. He was maybe 20 with wet hair plastered to his forehead and fear all over his face. "Mrs. Bennett," he whispered, "please don't scream." My heart lurched. "What are you doing?" He held up my phone. "You left this on the table." I reached for it. He did not let go. "That's not why I came after you." Behind him, through the restaurant window, I could see Evan at the bar talking to the hostess like a man with all the time in the world. Mateo's voice dropped. "Don't get in his truck yet." I stared at him. "What?" "You need to see what he put in your coffee." For a second I felt offended. That sounds strange, I know. But when someone tells you the person you sleep beside has hurt you, the first emotion is not fear. It is defense. Because if they are right, your whole life has already fallen apart and you are the last to know. Mateo pulled out his phone. I checked the camera. My manager told me not to get involved. But my mom went through something like this with my stepdad. I couldn't let you leave without knowing. He played the video. The angle was high and grainy but clear enough. There I was standing from the table, smoothing my dress, walking toward the restroom. There was Evan waiting until I disappeared. He glanced left, then right. Then he took a small white packet from inside his jacket. He tore it open with his teeth, poured powder into my coffee, stirred it slowly, carefully, like a man seasoning soup, like a man who had done it before. The rain seemed to vanish. The parking lot, the restaurant, my body, all of it went far away. Mateo grabbed my elbow. "I saved a copy," he said, "and I kept your cup. It's in the staff fridge. I didn't let them throw it out." Across the lot, Evan's truck pulled up. Headlights washed over us. His window rolled down. "There you are," he called. "Thought I lost you." Mateo shoved my phone into my hand. "Act normal," he whispered. "Please, get the cup tested, and don't drink anything he gives you." I walked to the truck on legs that did not feel like mine. Evan smiled as I climbed in. "Find your phone." "Yes, good." He brushed rain from my hair. "You scared me." I looked at his hand. The same hand that had stirred powder into my coffee. "I'm sorry," I said. He smiled at the road. "You don't have to apologize, sweetheart. You just need rest." That night I lay beside him and listened to him sleep. Slow, peaceful, heavy, the way innocent people sleep. The way guilty people sleep when they believe they are loved too much to be suspected. At 2:13 a.m., I slipped out of bed. I took my purse, my keys, and the coffee cup Mateo had hidden for me behind the restaurant dumpster after Evan and I left. I had made Evan stop at a gas station for ginger ale, then use the bathroom exit to grab the paper bag exactly where Mateo said it would be. I drove to the only person I trusted outside the diner. Dr. Lena Brooks had been my doctor since I was 17. She had been my father's doctor, too. Her clinic was attached to her house the old-fashioned way, and she had the kind of face that could make grown men confess they had not been taking their blood pressure pills. When she opened the door in a robe and slippers, she took one look at me and said, "Who hurt you?" I broke. Not graceful tears, not movie tears. Ugly, shaking, breathless tears that bent me in half. Lena pulled me inside. I told her everything. The fog, the missed meetings, the tea, the coffee, the folder, the video, the way Evan watched me when I drank. She did not interrupt. She put on gloves, poured the coffee into a sterile container, took a blood sample and said, "You are not crazy." I had not realized how badly I needed to hear that. "Can you test it?" "Yes." "Tonight?" She looked at the cup, then at me. "Basic screen tonight. Full panel will take longer." "What do you think it is?" "Something sedating. Something that could make you confused, compliant, sleepy. Maybe crushed medication. Maybe a mixture." My stomach twisted. "Has this been happening for weeks?" I whispered. "Months." Lena's jaw tightened. "Nora, listen to me very carefully. Stop drinking anything he gives you. Stop eating anything he prepares. Do not confront him while you are alone. And do not sign anything." I laughed once. It sounded broken. He already tried. Of course he did. I looked up. "You're not surprised. I'm a doctor in a small town," she said. "I stopped being surprised by what people do behind clean curtains a long time ago." By sunrise, I sat in my car across from Bennett's blue porch. The rain had stopped, but the street still shone under the lamps. At 5:30, Becca unlocked the diner. I watched her turn on the lights, tie her apron, and start the first pot of coffee. My phone buzzed. It was Tyler. A Facebook notification. He had posted again. This time it was a photo of the diner sign. Caption: "Some legacies need fresh hands. Big announcement soon. Fresh hands." The man who had never worked a full breakfast rush was calling my hands stale. I texted Becca. "Office, alone, emergency." 30 seconds later, she called. "Nora, don't say my name too loud." "What happened?" I closed my eyes. "I need to ask you something. How many times has Evan opened the diner without me in the last few months?" She went quiet. "A lot." "How many?" "At least 20. Did he ever make coffee for me here?" Another pause. "Yes." "When?" "Before the supplier meeting you missed. Before the bank appointment. Before your mom's birthday dinner. Before that interview with the local paper." Her voice changed. "Nora, what's going on?" "I think Evan has been drugging me." Becca did not gasp. She did not ask if I was sure. She said I knew something was wrong. Those 5 words nearly broke me. Because my husband had said I was unstable. My mother had said I was emotional. My brother had said I was losing it. But a 24-year-old girl who worked the counter had seen me more clearly than my own blood. "There's something else," Becca said. My chest tightened. "What?" "Your mom and Tyler are meeting Evan here at 9. At the diner." "Yes, Evan told me not to tell you. He said you were sleeping in after another episode." Another episode. Like I was a problem they were documenting. Why are they meeting? I heard Tyler say the buyer wanted photos before making the final offer. The word buyer hit me like cold water. "What buyer?" Becca's voice went thin. "Nora, there's a man coming at 10. Some restaurant investor from Columbus. Tyler said he wants to turn Blue Porch into a breakfast franchise." For a moment, I could not breathe. The counter, the blue porch, the biscuit recipe, the old photo wall, the booth where Dad used to sit after closing and count tips. They were not just trying to help Evan manage the diner. They were selling it. Without me. I drove home before Evan woke. When I walked into the kitchen, he was standing at the stove making eggs. He turned with a smile. "There she is. How's my girl?" "My girl." Not my wife. Not Nora. My girl. Possessive, soft, dangerous. "Morning," I said. He slid a mug of coffee toward me. "Made it just how you like. Cream, 1 sugar, little cinnamon." I looked at the mug. It smelled perfect. That almost made it worse. "No thanks, my stomach's off." His smile did not move, but something in his eyes did. "You should drink something." "I'll get water." "You barely ate last night." "I'm not hungry." He set the spatula down. "Nora, this is what I mean. You don't take care of yourself, then everyone else has to panic." "Everyone else?" "Your mom, Tyler, me. Funny, I said. Becca mentioned a buyer coming to the diner today. The kitchen went still. Evan turned back to the eggs. Oh, that. Yes, that. It's exploratory. You forgot to explore it with me. He carried the plates to the table. We didn't tell you because every time the diner comes up, you get emotional. It's my diner. It's your father's diner. The words landed hard. He sat across from me watching my face. That's the problem, Nora. You can't separate business from grief. Your father has been dead for 11 years. I stared at him. I know how long my father has been dead. Then maybe start acting like it. There he was. Not the gentle husband. Not the worried caretaker. The man underneath. For 1 second, his contempt stood naked in the kitchen. Then he covered it with a sigh. I'm sorry, that came out wrong. No, I said quietly. I think it came out exactly right. His eyes narrowed. Then he smiled again. Eat your eggs before they get cold. I did not eat. I went upstairs, locked myself in the bathroom, turned on the shower, and searched his closet. Maybe that sounds wrong. Maybe it was. But there are moments when privacy becomes the mask evil wears. In the pocket of his gray blazer, I found 3 things. A receipt from a pharmacy 2 towns over, a small plastic pill crusher, and a folded note in Tyler's handwriting. The pharmacy receipt listed a prescription under the name Elliot Price. Evan's middle name was Elliot. The note said, Sunday. Make her sign before she changes her mind. Mom is ready. I'll back you up. Once the sale closes, she can cry about Dad in Florida for all I care. My hands went numb. Not because of Tyler. Tyler had been cruel before. It was the line before that. Mom is ready. My mother was ready. For years, I had paid her mortgage when she fell behind. I had picked up her prescriptions. I had fixed her furnace. I had hosted every holiday because she said the house felt too lonely. I had defended Tyler because she cried when I did not. And now she was ready. Ready to help my husband make me small enough to sign away the only thing my father had trusted me to protect. I took photos, put everything back. Then I sat on the bathroom floor with the shower running until the steam blurred the mirror. I looked at my reflection and barely recognized myself. But for the first time in months, I did not look confused. I looked angry. At 9:30, I parked behind the feed store across from the diner. Through the window, I could see them. Evan sat in my father's booth. Tyler sat across from him, leaning back like an owner. My mother sat beside Evan, her church purse on her lap, wearing the pale pink cardigan I had bought her last Christmas. A man in a camel coat stood near the counter taking photos of the dining room. The buyer. Tyler pointed toward the wall of old family pictures and said something. The buyer nodded. Then Tyler reached up and removed one of the framed photos from the wall. My father holding a ribbon from the county fair. The photo had hung there for 23 years. Tyler handed it to Becca. She did not take it. Even from across the street, I could see her say no. Tyler's face twisted. Evan stood and smoothed it over. My mother looked down at her hands. That image burned into me. Not Tyler being cruel. Not Evan controlling the room. My mother looking down. That was her gift. Silence at the exact moment courage was required. At 10:42, Dr. Lena called. Nora, are you alone? Yes. The coffee contained a sedative, a strong one. Your blood work shows traces, too. I closed my eyes. So I'm not imagining it. Number. Can you prove it? I can prove what was in your body and what was in that cup. The video proves who put it there. Across the street, the buyer shook Tyler's hand. Something inside me went calm. What should I do? Report it. I will. Nora, I said I will. But first I need my father's diner back. Lena was quiet. Then she said, do not become reckless. I'm not reckless anymore, I said. I'm awake. That afternoon, I called Sam Whitaker. Sam had worked with my father for almost 20 years. He was not related to us, but he had been there for every moment that mattered. He fixed the roof after a storm. He taught me how to change a tire. He sat with Dad during chemo when I had to run payroll. After Dad died, he retired from full-time work, but still came into the diner every Friday for black coffee and a biscuit he claimed was too expensive even though I never charged him. When he answered, I heard a saw buzzing in the background. Blue porch emergency, he asked. Yes. The saw stopped. Where are you? Home. I'll be there in 20. He arrived in his old green pickup with rust over the wheel wells and a toolbox sliding around in the back. I told him everything. The drug, the video, the buyer, the folder, Mom, Tyler, the note. His face hardened in a way I had only seen once before at my father's funeral when Tyler asked whether life insurance paid out before probate. Sam removed his cap. Your dad was afraid of this. My breath caught. What? Not this exactly. Not Evan. But he knew Tyler would try one day. He knew Linda would fold if Tyler cried hard enough. I sank into a chair. Dad knew. He knew people. Why didn't he tell me? Sam looked at me sadly. He did. Just not in the way you were ready to hear. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small brass key. My heart began to pound. What is that? The old flower bin. I almost laughed. The flower bin. The one in the back pantry. White metal, strawberry sticker on the lid. Your dad kept it after you switched suppliers. I remembered that ugly bin. Dad refused to throw it away. He used to say, some things are only useless to people who don't know what they hold. I had thought it was one of his sentimental sayings. It was a map. After closing, Becca led us into the diner. She had already changed the office passwords. Twice. I also locked Evan out of the scheduling system, she said. Sam looked at her. You're a good kid. I'm 24. To me, that's a kid. To me, you're ancient. For the first time that day, I laughed. The old flower bin sat in the back pantry under a shelf of napkins and takeout cups. Sam knelt groaning at his knees and pressed the key into a tiny hole near the base I had never noticed. The bottom panel popped open. Inside was a metal box wrapped in one of Dad's old dish towels. I lifted it out with shaking hands. Inside were no diamonds, no secret fortune, just a stack of handwritten recipe cards tied with blue ribbon, a small photo album, and an envelope with my name on it. Nora Bug. Nobody had called me that since Dad. I opened the letter. My girl. If Sam is giving you this, then I'm not there to say it myself. I hope by now you understand that the diner was never only pancakes, pie, and coffee. It was people. It was dignity. It was a place where a tired person could sit down and feel like somebody remembered they mattered. You understood that better than anyone. Your mother believes keeping peace is the same as keeping family. It is not. Your brother believes blood gives him the right to what other people build. It does not. I watched you carry this place while others stood around discussing who deserved it. Listen to me, Nora. Love is not proven by how much you can endure. Family is not a reason to be used. Legacy does not belong to the loudest person in the room. It belongs to the one who protects it when nobody is clapping. The blue porch is yours in every way that matters. Do not let anyone make you feel guilty for surviving them. I love you more than biscuits love butter. Dad, I pressed the letter to my chest and bent over it. For 11 years, I had waited for someone in my family to say I mattered. My dead father had said it from inside an old flower bin. Becca cried openly. Sam wiped his eyes and blamed pantry dust. I untied the recipe cards. Blue porch buttermilk biscuits, Sunday cinnamon rolls, chicken gravy, apple stack cake, and the one everyone in 3 counties asked about, Bennett honey butter pie. The pie that had been written up in the local paper. The pie people ordered for weddings. The pie Evan once said could be scaled into a regional brand if I stopped thinking small. That was what they wanted. Not just the building, not just the land. They wanted the name, the recipes, the story, the feeling my father had built one plate at a time. They wanted to sell the soul and call it progress. Sam placed a fireproof lockbox on the table. We move these tonight. Becca crossed her arms. And tomorrow, I looked at the dark dining room, at the red stools, the blue trim, the wall where Dad's photo had been removed and then quietly rehung by Becca after Tyler left. Tomorrow, I said, we let them think I'm ready to sign. Sunday came like a stage play. Evan made coffee. I poured it into the fern by the kitchen window. The fern probably slept for 18 hours. He made tea. I poured it into the sink. He offered soup. I said my stomach hurt. By noon, he was impatient. My mother and Tyler arrived after church. Mom brought a casserole because she believed food could soften any cruelty, including her own. Tyler brought nothing as usual except entitlement. He walked into my house wearing sunglasses on his head and said, "You look better than I expected." "Then you hoped," I asked. Mom frowned. "Nora, don't start." I almost smiled. I had not even begun. We sat in the living room. Evan placed the cream-colored folder on the coffee table. Mom sat on the couch with her casserole dish on her lap like a shield. Tyler leaned against the fireplace under the framed photo of Dad holding me as a child. Evan opened the folder. "Nora," he said using his soft voice. We all think it would be best if you let me handle the diner temporarily. Mom's eyes filled on cue. Honey, I'm scared for you. Tyler sighed. We all are. I looked at him. Are you scared for me or for your buyer? His face twitched. Mom whispered. What buyer? I turned to her. Don't do that. Nora, don't sit in my house holding a casserole and pretending you don't know a stranger took photos of my diner. Her mouth opened, closed. Evan lifted a hand. Let's not make accusations. Nobody is taking anything from you. We're saving it from you. There it was. A sentence so cruel it became useful. Mom looked down. Tyler nodded like Evan had said something wise. I let my hand tremble as I picked up the pen. All three of them watched. Evan's breathing slowed. Tyler straightened. Mom clutched her casserole dish. I lowered the pen to the signature line. Then I knocked my glass of water across the papers. Water spread over the folder, over the ink, over Evan's carefully printed plan. Oh, I whispered, my hands! Evan jumped up. Damn it, Nora. His voice cracked through the room. Mom gasped. Tyler muttered, for God's sake. I looked up at Evan. His face was red. For one perfect second, everyone saw him. Then he inhaled and put the mask back on. It's okay, he said tightly. Accidents happen. I looked at the ruined papers. I have a better idea. Evan froze. What? Let's do it tomorrow night at the diner. After closing. Tyler blinked. Why? Because if I sign in front of everyone, nobody can say I was pressured. Mom can be there. Tyler can explain his vision. Becca can witness. Sam, too. And your buyer can come if he needs reassurance. The room went very still. Evan studied me. I gave him exactly what he wanted to see. A tired woman. A guilty woman. A woman trained to make everyone comfortable. I don't want people whispering that you forced me, I said. Mom nodded slowly. That does make sense. Tyler looked excited. The buyer would like that. Evan's eyes narrowed. Then he smiled. Tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, I said. After they left, I checked the shared iPad Evan kept in the kitchen. He had forgotten to log out of his messages. There was a group chat. Evan, Tyler, Mom, Tyler. She almost signed. Evan, she ruined the paperwork. But tomorrow is better. Buyer will be there. Mom, please be gentle with her. Tyler, gentle is why this took so long. Mom, she is still your sister. Tyler. Then maybe my sister should stop acting like Dad's ghost pays the bills. Evan, tomorrow she signs. After that, I handle the accounts and buyer talks. Mom, I just want peace. Tyler, I want my half. My half. I read those words until they stopped hurting and started sharpening. Then I took screenshots. Monday morning, I opened the diner myself. For the first time in months, my head felt clear. I made biscuit dough before sunrise. I brewed the coffee. I unlocked the door. Regulars came in one by one. Mr. Jenkins with his cane. Darla from the post office. 2 sheriff's deputies who always split a cinnamon roll and pretended they were just looking. Mrs. Alvarez, who had cleaned houses for 40 years and still wore lipstick at breakfast. They asked how I was. Not like they were building a case. Like they actually wanted to know. I'm getting better, I said. And I meant it. At 4, Evan arrived with Tyler and the buyer. The buyer's name was Russell Hart. He owned 3 brunch restaurants in Columbus and looked like a man who said community in meetings, but never remembered a waitress's name. He shook my hand too long. Mrs. Price, he said. I pulled my hand back. Bennett. His smile faltered. Of course. Tyler carried a cardboard tube under his arm. What's that? I asked. He grinned. Something fresh. He unrolled a banner across the counter. Bennett and Price Family Kitchen. Underneath in smaller letters, a new chapter. For a local legacy. My name was nowhere. The diner went quiet. Becca stood by the coffee machine, her face hard. Sam sat at the counter with his hands around his mug. Mom came in behind them, shaking rain from her umbrella. She saw the banner and smiled sadly. Oh, honey, she said, it looks professional. Professional. Not warm. Not ours. Not Dad's. Professional. I touched the edge of the banner. Where is the blue porch? Tyler rolled his eyes. It's paint Nora. Sam stood. His stool scraped the floor. Tyler looked annoyed. What? Sam's voice was low. Your father painted that porch blue because your grandmother said blue kept sorrow from sitting too long at the door. Tyler laughed. Great story. Doesn't sell franchises. No one moved. Even Russell Hart looked uncomfortable. Evan stepped in quickly. Tyler, maybe don't. No, I said. Let him talk. Tyler spread his arms. Fine. You want honesty. This place is old. The menu is old. Half the customers are old. Dad had heart, sure, but heart doesn't pay for Mom's roof or my future. You don't work here, Becca said. Tyler pointed at her. You're an employee. She lifted her chin. And somehow I've done more for this diner than you ever have. A few customers murmured. Tyler's face reddened. He turned back to me. You got to play martyr for 11 years, and now everyone acts like that makes you the queen of pancakes. I'm tired of being treated like I'm greedy for wanting what should have been mine. Mom whispered Tyler. No, Mom. I'm saying it. He jabbed a finger toward me. You were supposed to keep this place going until I was ready. There it was. The whole rotten truth. Not hidden, not whispered. Spoken in my father's diner in front of everyone who had ever wondered why I looked tired. I looked at my mother. Is that what you thought too? Her silence answered. Evan put his hand on my shoulder. Nora, emotions are high. Let's not embarrass ourselves. I stepped away from him. No, let's not. I reached under the counter and picked up the remote. The small television in the corner, usually used for weather reports and football scores, flickered on. Becca plugged in the flash drive. The video started. Miller's Grove. Our anniversary table. Me walking to the restroom. Evan looking left. Looking right. Taking the packet from his jacket. Pouring powder into my coffee. Stirring. Slowly. Carefully. The diner went silent in a way I had never heard before. No forks. No mugs. No rain. Just the hum of the refrigerator and the sound of Evan destroying himself in high definition. Mom whispered. What is that? I looked at her. That is your son-in-law taking care of me. Evan's face drained. That's not what it looks like. Mateo's recorded statement played next. My name is Mateo Ruiz. I work at Miller's Grove. I saw Mr. Price put something in Mrs. Bennett's coffee on Friday night. I saved the cup because I was scared for her. Then Dr. Lena's voice. The sample contained a sedative. Mrs. Bennett's blood work showed the same substance in her system. Russell Hart stepped back from Evan. Mr. Price, he said slowly. What exactly did you invite me into? Evan turned on him. This is a family matter. Russell buttoned his coat. No, I came here to discuss a restaurant, not to be dragged into a man drugging his wife. Then he looked at Tyler. And for the record, I don't buy businesses from people who don't own them. Tyler's face went slack. The buyer walked out. Just like that, Tyler's imaginary future left through the front door in the rain. But I was not finished. The next slide appeared. Screenshots from the group chat. Mom is ready. Make it about her health. Once I'm handling things, we can move forward. I want my half. Mom made a sound like someone had pressed a hand over her mouth. Tyler lunged toward the counter. Turn that off. Sam stepped between him and Becca. Take one more step. Tyler stopped. Evan's mask finally broke. You stupid woman, he hissed. The room froze. Not because people had not suspected cruelty, because cruelty sounds different when it stops pretending. Evan leaned toward me. You think these people care about you? They like cheap coffee and gossip. That's it. In 6 months, this place will be drowning again, and you'll come begging me to fix it. One of the deputies stood from his booth. Evan noticed. His voice dropped. You're making a mistake, Nora. No, I said. I made a mistake when I married a man who saw my exhaustion as an opportunity. He flinched. I made a mistake when I confused being needed with being loved. I made a mistake every time I let my mother's tears become my instructions. I made a mistake every time I paid Tyler's bills and called it helping. Mom cried openly now. I looked at her. But I am done mistaking silence for peace. Tyler snapped, you're acting like we're villains because we wanted what Dad would have wanted. I reached under the counter and picked up the old envelope. No, Tyler. Dad told me what he wanted. I unfolded the letter. My hands shook at first, then steadied. I read every word. Love is not proven by how much you can endure. Family is not a reason to be used. Legacy does not belong to the loudest person in the room. It belongs to the one who protects it when nobody is clapping. By the time I finished, half the diner was crying. Even one of the deputies wiped his eye and pretended it was allergies. Tyler stared at the floor. Mom looked like she had aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Evan grabbed his coat. This isn't over. I looked at him. For me it is. He laughed once. You think a video makes you safe? The deputy stepped forward. Sir, I think you should leave. Evan looked around the diner. For the first time, he seemed to understand that there was no one left to charm. No wife to sedate. No mother-in-law to manipulate, no brother-in-law to flatter, no buyer to impress. No room left where his voice was the loudest. He walked out into the rain. Tyler followed halfway, then turned back to Mom. "Are you coming?" For once, my mother did not move toward him. She sat in the booth with her hands around a napkin, staring at the table. Tyler's face hardened. "Fine." He left alone. The bell over the door jingled behind him, and the diner breathed again. The days after that were not clean or simple. Stories always sound easier when people tell them later. They skip the shaking, the police report, the doctor visits, the nights you wake up reaching for someone you no longer trust, the mornings you stare at a coffee cup and have to remind yourself you made it. Evan lost his job at the mortgage office within a week. Not because I posted the video. I did not have to. In a town like Willow Creek, truth travels faster than Wi-Fi. Mateo gave his statement. Lena gave hers. The restaurant turned over the footage. What happened after that moved slowly, as serious things often do, but I stopped building my healing around whether Evan suffered enough. That was not my freedom. My freedom was changing the locks. My freedom was removing him from every account. My freedom was drinking coffee without watching anyone's hands. Tyler showed up 2 weeks later, pounding on the diner door after closing. I met him on the blue porch. He looked tired, angry, smaller than I remembered. "You ruined my life," he said. "No," I replied. "I stopped funding it. You can't ban me from Dad's place. I can ban you from mine." His face twisted. "You're really choosing strangers over your own brother." I looked through the window at Becca counting tips, Sam fixing the screen door, and Mrs. Alvarez waving goodnight from the sidewalk. "No," I said. "I'm choosing the people who showed up without trying to own me." He stepped closer. "You'll regret this." I opened the door just enough to step inside. "You can eat here as a customer when you learn respect, but you will never again walk in here like an owner." Then I closed the door. My mother came in every Thursday at 8. The first time she tried to sit in Dad's booth. I said not yet. She sat at the counter. She ordered coffee and toast. She paid. She tipped Becca $5. It was awkward. Good. Awkward meant nobody was pretending. One Thursday she looked at me and said I thought I was keeping the family together. I wiped down the counter. "No, Mom, you were keeping Tyler comfortable." She flinched. "I didn't know Evan was drugging you." I set the rag down. "You didn't need to know about the drugging to know this was wrong." Her eyes filled. "I loved your father." "I know. I love you." I looked at her for a long time. "Then learn how to love me without needing me to disappear." She cried. This time I did not rush to comfort her. That may sound cold. It was not. It was the first honest boundary I had ever given my mother. 3 months later, I repainted the porch myself. The same blue. Sam said my brush strokes were uneven. I told him to climb the ladder with his bad knees and do better. He said my father would have laughed. I said I knew. We kept the name Bennett's Blue Porch, but I added one line beneath the sign, "Built by Ray, carried by Nora." The morning the new sign went up, I stood across the street and stared until the letters blurred. Becca came out with 2 coffees. "Looks good," she said. "Tyler will hate it." "Then it looks perfect." I laughed. A real laugh. The kind that does not ask permission. By spring, the diner was busier than it had been in years. Not because scandal is good for business, though people do love a story. It was busier because I stopped letting people who did not respect the place make decisions about it. We simplified the menu. Raised wages, brought back Dad's apple stack cake, started a Friday supper where people could pay what they could. And every Sunday I made honey butter pie from the original recipe card with one tiny change. I added a pinch more salt. Dad always said salt made sweet things honest. On the first anniversary of the night Mateo warned me, I hosted a free breakfast on Dad's birthday. We served pancakes, eggs, biscuits, gravy, coffee, and honey butter pie. Even though pie for breakfast makes no sense, and Dad would have said that was exactly why we should do it. The line went out the door. Mateo drove in from Miller's Grove with his mother. I hugged him so hard he laughed. Dr. Lena came and pretended she was only there to check my blood pressure, then ate 2 cinnamon rolls. Becca ran the register like a general. Sam burned 1 tray of bacon and blamed the oven. Near the end of the morning, Mom came in. She stood by the door for a while, unsure whether she was welcome. I walked over. She looked older, not because of time, because regret ages people differently. "I brought something," she said. She handed me a framed photo. It was Dad on the blue porch holding me on his hip when I was maybe 4. I had flour on my face. He was laughing down at me like I had just said something brilliant. I kept it in my bedroom, Mom said. I should have given it to you years ago. I looked at the photo, then at her. Thank you. Her mouth trembled. I'm sorry, Nora. She had said those words before. This time she did not add, but no excuse. No Tyler. No peace. Just sorry. I nodded. I believe you. That was all I gave her that day. It was enough. Near closing, I stepped outside. The blue porch was crowded with people eating from paper plates. Kids sat on the curb with syrup on their fingers. Someone had brought a guitar. The whole street smelled like coffee, rain, and cinnamon. I stood under the sign and thought about the woman I had been 1 year earlier. The woman in the green dress. The woman holding poisoned coffee. The woman who believed being loved meant being easy to manage. I wanted to reach back through time and hold her hand. I wanted to tell her that one day she would stop apologizing for noticing pain. That one day she would learn family is not measured by who shares your name. Family is measured by who notices when your hands are shaking and asks who made them shake. Evan wanted the diner because he saw an asset. Tyler wanted it because he thought blood was ownership. My mother wanted peace because truth required too much courage. But I wanted it because I knew every scratch in the counter, every story behind every photo, every regular who needed extra napkins, every employee who deserved a raise. And every morning my father unlocked the door in the dark, believing that feeding people mattered. That is legacy, not money, not a sign, not a last name. Legacy is what remains loved after greedy hands fail to take it. So if you are listening to this and wondering whether you are wrong for finally standing up to people who call themselves family, let me tell you what I wish someone had told me sooner. You are not selfish for protecting what you built. You are not cruel for naming what hurt you. You are not unstable because liars dislike your memory. And you are not obligated to stay small just because small is where people learn to control you. Respect is not something you earn by disappearing. Respect begins the moment you stop helping others erase you. That night, after everyone left, I locked the diner myself. The street was quiet. The blue porch glowed under the soft yellow light. I stood there with Dad's keys in my hand, listening to the screen door settle behind me. For the first time in a long time, silence did not sound like abandonment. It sounded like peace. Before I walked to my car, I looked back at the sign one more time. Built by Ray, carried by Nora, still standing. And if you have ever had to choose dignity over being accepted, I hope you know this. You did not break the family by telling the truth. You only stopped letting the lie hold it together. So tell me in the comments, when does helping family become losing yourself?